Hello and welcome to my channel, and welcome back to my kitchen. This is Afton Cake Part 2, and I'm going to take you step by step through the process of making a specialty cake so you can see how it's done and hopefully you can do one too. The first stage is planning. Pick your theme, pick a character or color, pick a flavor and pick a filling. Decide if you want it 2D or 3D, then if you want toppers, accessories or writing. I like to sketch my plan out because it helps me to visualize and I can refer back to it and make changes. Your cake should be cold to make it much easier to work with, and I usually let mine chill in the fridge overnight. To see how I made the sponge cake, check out my previous video for a full recipe. Slice your sponge into even layers. Mine here are about 1 inch, and when figuring out how many layers I'll need, I estimate the final height and allow for 1/2 inch of filling between each layer, and then I bake a little extra just in case. I make crazy cakes for my kids at every birthday, and some of them have been pretty hard or stressful, but I've also learnt a lot along the way about how to do them better. So my kids have kind of developed high expectations and will sometimes request something that takes me weeks to plan. Decide the order of your layers and stack them so they're easier to put together. And it helps if you have your filling ready to go. For my buttercream recipe, I have a video link in the description. I'm adding a spot of buttercream here to stop my cake from sliding while we work. Sit the bottom layer as close to center as you possibly can and start adding your filling. You can use a piping bag if you like, but I find this is faster. We decided on these colors because in the game, William Afton, also known as Springtrap, is known as the purple guy. And the pinky kind of color is meant to represent the Afton skull on the inside of his suit. Fill each layer right to the edges, and it should be an even thickness. As an extra detail, we're adding some strawberry filling to give our Afton some flesh, and there's a recipe link for that in the description also. Continue stacking your layers in that same way, making sure that your cake remains cool. If it's a hot day or your cake or your filling start getting warm, it's best to take a break and let everything cool down before continuing. To make the carving stage easier, I made my top layers smaller than the base because it's meant to look like a head, and I'm stacking them accordingly. I actually got really excited when my son chose this character in this theme because it felt like a fun challenge, but as much as I hate to say it, I like FNAF too. And when it first became a thing, I checked into it to make sure it was okay for my kids, and my millennial brain just went nuts. Once all of your layers are together, we need to fill in any gaps and coat the whole cake in buttercream. This will make the carving stage a lot easier and a lot less messy because the buttercream helps to stabilize the cake while cutting. And once the whole cake is covered, we need to put it back in the fridge for as long as it takes to get super cold again, and how long will vary depending on the size of your cake. I rely heavily on my planning sketch while carving, so I like to keep it close. I'm using a paring knife and a bread knife, but you can use whatever feels best for you. Save your offcuts in a spare bowl, and these are perfect for hangry husbands and impatient kids. And cut slowly. Don't feel like you're in a rush. It's better to take small cuts than it is to cut large chunks. Over the years, there have been many versions of this character, and his appearance changes a little bit along the way, which makes it a lot more flexible than some other characters, as it doesn't need to be perfect. And that's an important note. It doesn't have to be perfect. If you're new to this, then you need to be kind to yourself and judge your cake based on your skill level. Don't compare to social media. And your family's going to appreciate the fact that you made the effort in the first place. And while having a turntable is quite handy, you can work without one. But if you decide you do want one, don't get tricked into paying too much. Mine was about $20 on eBay, and I bought it like 4 years ago. If you're enjoying this video, don't forget to hit the like button because that helps my channel and helps this video reach more people. For the overall shaping of this cake, I've taken inspiration from various Afton and Springtrap designs and taken into account what would still work for a cake. He will need space for his eyes and his teeth, and he has a human head inside a bunny head, so the sides are narrower and the top is a little bit more rounded. In case you ever cut too much off, you can use your offcuts to fill it back in. Simply blend it all together like you would with a cake pop and you can use that to sculpt it back into shape. Only cut as much as you need to and avoid getting carried away. Stepping away for a few minutes can help reset your eyes to the project. I normally use that time to have a coffee and another look at my planning sketch. Any cake design is only as hard as you let it be, so remember who's in control and don't get stressed. Once you're satisfied with the shape, it's time to use the remaining buttercream to cover the whole cake again. Because this cake is mostly curved, I'm using my flexible scraper. That was only $2 on eBay. But a spatula will work just as well. What we're doing here is called a crumb coat, basically adding a layer of buttercream to smooth out the surface of the cake while catching any crumbs. Don't press or scrape too hard though, because you might scrape into the cake again without meaning to. You want your buttercream to be even all over and not too thick or too thin. If you've been here more than once and you're still not subscribed, show YouTube that you're enjoying my channel by hitting that subscribe button along with the notification bell so you never miss a video. If you can still see bald sections of cake but you run out of buttercream, don't worry, you might be able to blend out what you already have, but it's also not a bad idea to make extra buttercream. I'll be covering this cake with fondant for a more sleek finish, and for that I'll need a second layer of buttercream anyway as a buffer so the surface is smoother. Your crumb coat will need to set in the fridge for a few hours so that it doesn't scrape off with your next layer, which is plenty of time to make more buttercream, your fondant, and prepare for the final decorating, which is what we'll get to in stage 3. So thanks for joining me. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you've got any questions, don't hesitate to ask me. I'm always here, and I look forward to seeing you again in my next video.